Welcome to Powering Through Life on the Divas That Care Network. I'm your host, Teresa Sims, and I am a life, trauma, and assertiveness coach and an award-winning author and multiple #1 best-selling co-author. Each week on Powering Through Life, my guests and I will discuss topics that are close and special to their hearts. Together, we explore the challenges they have faced in life and learn what strategies and tools they have used to power through their lives. Today, my guest is Lisa McClellan. And Lisa, as a small child, was a constant worrier who grew up to become consumed by her clinical thoughts. Generalized anxiety disorder was what the diagnosis was with her after she contemplated taking her own life from the stress and pressures of not being able to find balance in life, work, relationships, financial pressure, and strict fitness goals. Her health education from being a registered nurse and a registered massage therapist, coupled with focusing mind and meditation, body awareness, and breathing, have become some of the foundational blocks of becoming a mind-body connection coach and beginning her business called Beyond Balance. Now, Lisa's topic today is about calming the chaotic mind and finding balance in a life of distress and disorganization. Mental health awareness is very important lately because of mental illness being on the rise. Anxiety and depression statistics are climbing, and it's imperative that those suffering from these illnesses have some hope that they can see some positivity and happiness again. A light at the end of the tunnel will do that for them. Learning to focus the mind and thoughts on positive situations, experiences, and affirmations rather than negative thoughts that spiral out of control really will set the individual up for success of relieving their symptoms. So Lisa, thank you for being our guest today on Powering Through Life. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks, Teresa, for having me. This is wonderful.
Anytime. I like the topic today, so I'm really intrigued by how you've taken this topic and made it your own. So tell me, what does it mean to have a chaotic mind? And how would someone know they have that?
Yeah, it's kind of like feeling like your mind is in a blender. When you have something called monkey brain, where your thoughts are on a rotating cycle and you can't seem to gather your thoughts, and you're paralyzed with anxiety and you can't even seem to make one decision, let alone a whole day's worth of decisions. And this eventually just kind of transcends into pain in the body too, typically expressed by rounded shoulders, tight neck, low back pain, and various other sort of symptoms in the body. It's very debilitating, and it seems to kind of take over the mind completely.
So can it manifest itself in any types of way within the body?
Yeah, it really sort of depends on how much stress is in your life, if you're able to focus your thoughts. If you're just having a rough day, you might have just some tight shoulders, and then by the end of the day, when the stress is gone, you feel a little bit better. It can even manifest and stay as a chronic symptom as well, too.
Oh, boy, and that's quite a nasty cycle to get into, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Even just driving down the street, you may not feel like you're stressed, but your body's telling you that, with the shoulders forward a little bit, that it's starting to really, really take effect from your mind into your body.
Mm-hmm. So it's more of it's almost like a distraction of your conscious mind.
Yeah.
That kind of
exactly
takes over.
It.
Yeah. So
Yep.
Does it go with any other type of emotional illness, or anyone can experience this type of syndrome, I guess. Is that the right term?
Yeah. I mean, realistically, anyone can be affected by thoughts that are just rotating and can't seem to make decisions, because then you're not able to breathe deeply anymore, and you tend to just breathe from the top of your lungs and just have shallow breathing instead of that full deep breath. So it reduces oxygen going to your brain, and then you can't make educated decisions. So it affects your relationships, your finances. It affects your health, obviously, by the circulation being reduced from the blood going to your brain and various other areas of your body.
So what type of illnesses could be attributed to this, like long-term illnesses? Like I'm thinking the shallow breathing. That's something I do all the time, and I'm a work in progress with that aspect of breathing. So if a person shallow breathes for say years, does the body get used to that and adapt, or is there long-term side effects, I guess, from that type of thing?
Yeah, definitely long-term side effects. The diaphragm isn't able to move properly, so then the fascia, which is the tight covering around all of the organs and the muscles, it gets adhesions and it adheres. So unfortunately, you aren't able to take those deep breaths. So then you can get various infections of the lungs. You can get bronchitis and pneumonia because the lungs aren't being nourished with that oxygen and with that blood flow.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty nasty, isn't it, when you think about it that way?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if you can't bring in oxygen, then your survival rate is pretty low after that.
Yeah.
That's the nutrient of life. So
yeah, for sure. So how would someone go about getting a diagnosis of a chaotic mind? Like, is there medical help for this, or is it diagnosed by a doctor, or what? How do we do that?
It's very interesting, actually. It's I'm sure there's some diagnoses out there. I kind of just had my own body awareness of it when I realized that I had lots of irrational thoughts going on in my head, and I couldn't seem to calm down. So it's really all about having that body awareness and thinking to yourself, okay, is this a rational thought? Am I allowing it to spiral out of control? Can I focus it? Can I stop it? Can I choose a different thought? So we can, in a way, diagnose ourselves with just the feelings that we're having too. If we're feeling very overwhelmed and we can't seem to calm down, if we can't seem to sleep at night and get a restful sleep, then unless something else is going on in the body, typically the mind is just racing, and that's when it's time to have a look at what's going on inside your body and trying to deal with it in different ways, like deep breathing will help.
Right. So when you mentioned body awareness, how would you define that for us?
So that's just really making active decisions, seeing how you feel in your body when you're deciding something or when you're around something. A lot of people attribute it to that gut feeling, and so that gut reaction, that immediate reaction, is typically that body awareness. So kind of utilizing that in terms of understanding what your body is doing and the signals that it's providing.
So paying
different ways.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, paying attention to that gut feeling is really important then. In so many.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, and being present too. So again, making that active decision to stay focused in that moment will help you to A, become aware of what you're doing, and B, become aware of how you're feeling, and then that's going to help bring that awareness even stronger for you. Because we really have the answers to what we need for ourselves already innately in our bodies, and it's just tapping into that and then pulling that out.
All right. So I have an experience that I'd like to share, and maybe this is kind of leading into what you're referring to with body awareness. So I know you know that I was in a severe car accident many years ago, and I have experienced post-traumatic stress from that accident. So when I'm driving now and some driver comes a little bit too close to me on the right side or coming at me a little too, odd on the front, it triggers the image in my mind that I'm not safe. The post-traumatic stress kicks in. And then you shallow breathe and you take in a great big inhale and you panic and you think, oh my God, I'm in danger, and it's fight or flight. But then talking to yourself and saying, you know what, no, I'm okay. The person stopped. Everything is fine. Calm down, exhale, and then just control the breathing by slow and steady, methodical breathing, I guess, is the right way to do it. Actually deflates that tension and that stress and relieves that anxiety that I'm feeling at that time. So would you say that's a good scenario of body awareness?
That's perfect. I love that. That really, shows that you have that, okay, it's an irrational thought right now. Don't worry, nothing's happening. I'm very safe. And then because your brain is telling you that, or you're telling your brain that even, your body responds as well. And then that allows the vagus nerve, which is the cranial nerve 10, it allows the innervation to relax the lungs, relax the heart, relax the bowels, so that you're, instead of in that fight or flight, you're in the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest.
Right.
Down. So that's perfect. I love that.
Great. Well, I'm glad I'm doing it right. And, that it's been a long time. It's been a work in progress, but at the same time, it's one of those little techniques that you learn that, you need to evaluate the situation, right? And that's what you're saying, is to evaluate what's going on. And can you change it? Are you okay? And then just calm your body. So what are 3 top secrets, Lisa, to calming a chaotic mind?
Well, we already just touched on the main one that I like to teach is the deep breathing. So it's very important to do that big, deep breath from the abdomen as opposed to the upper area of the lungs or the chest. The lower lobes is where the alveoli are, which are the little pockets in the lungs that provide gas exchange. So you're exchanging the carbon dioxide for the oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And so that helps to increase circulation and increase blood flow to all of your cells in your body and helps them to relax, including your brain. So it helps to relax the brain and all of those thoughts going on. And like I said, too, that vagus nerve helps to create that rest and digest, and that's exactly where we want to be when our mind is feeling chaotic and overwhelmed.
Absolutely. Great tip. So what's the second one then?
Yeah, the second one is, again, being present. And I liken it to finding your flow. So when you're feeling like your mind is totally focused in what you're doing as opposed to flying all over the place and thinking about, what I'm going to cook for dinner or groceries or, the next day, whatever's going to happen, just thinking about and doing whatever it is that lights you up. What makes you happy, what makes you feel content and excited to get out of bed in the morning. So that could be, some people do full-blown meditation. Some people use washing dishes as they're going with the flow, finding their flow and being present and, reading a book, playing the piano, anything like that is good indicators of being in the flow and having that small amount of meditation.
So would you say it's an individual aspect?
Yeah.
It's not something to do in a group setting or with other people. It's something you need to do alone and with yourself.
That's actually a good point. You could probably do it with others as well. If you're all in that flow, which sometimes, there's a little bit of social anxiety, so it may not be the best for many people. But yeah, individually is very good too. Finding that exact thing that really gets you going.
Mm-hmm. So exploring whichever option works best for you at that time is is key. So if
Yeah.
you've tried a group and you think a group isn't serving you well, then work on the individual aspect. And if you find you can't keep focused on the individual training or calming, then go to a group and see if that will work best for you as well, right? So it's based on the individual's requirements, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Perfect. So what's the third one, Lisa?
Yeah. Third one is drinking water, which I know sounds completely self-explanatory, but drinking even just, I know it sounds like a lot, but 2 to 3 liters a day is very important for the brain to be nourished, the body to have hydration. When we're dehydrated, our stress level is increased because our blood pressure is higher. It increases our heart rate because the heart needs a lot more pressure to get that blood circulating throughout the entire body. And it also, if you're dehydrated, you have an increased cortisol level as well, which is your stress hormone. So if you're drinking lots of water, again, it hydrates all the cells. It helps to put you into a rest and digest, which is that, calming that mind. And yeah, it helps to loosen up muscles, increase joint range of motion, and put your spinal column into its perfect spinal alignment. Because when we have that, then all of our muscles just kind of fall into place, and joints work exactly how they're supposed to. And yeah, so water is very important for the spine and the brain.
Interesting. Now, it's water specifically or any kind of fluid? Does it matter? Like some people will say, well, I drink 8 cups of coffee a day, or I have herbal tea in the afternoons, or does it need to be specifically water?
I guess not specifically water. Herbal tea is very good. Coffee is okay. There is still an element of caffeine in that as well, which increases your energy, which then metabolizes and then makes you crave more water. So I'd say at least half of that would be water, and then herbal tea and a little bit of coffee for the rest.
Okay, good food for thought, because my husband is one that he'll have his coffee in the morning, as do I, and then we'll move on to herbal teas for the rest of the day. Sometimes I'll have water. Now I've actually started drinking coconut water, which I've heard, and my naturopathic doctor recommended that, and I've heard it's very good for brain function and rejuvenating the body. So and it actually doesn't taste too bad, the one I have. So
yeah, it is. It's really good for electrolytes too. So yeah, a little bit of vitamins, minerals there too. So that's perfect. You're doing all the right things.
Excellent. That's good to know. That's good to know. So, Lisa, what are the benefits of having a calm mind, and who would benefit from this?
Well, realistically, anyone would benefit from having a calm mind, because again, that helps you to decide and make better decisions and just have a better life in general. But I would say I really like to focus on women, because we are empaths and we really want to take care of others, and we have this internal sense of almost obligation to ensure that everyone is taken care of, and sometimes we tend to lose our self-identity in that. So the more that we can have that calm mind, the more we can make that decision to choose options that are good for us as well, and not just for everyone else, so putting ourselves first.
Well, that makes complete sense, because as women we tend to do so many different things, for so many different people that, and I was one too. I lost track of who I was, and I found myself later in life that I didn't exist. And that's the worst thing, because I was busy doing for everyone else. But that's, had I taken this time to actually, adopt this life balance, it would have been so much better for me, myself, and also it would have translated into my family life, my children, my husband, all that sort of thing. So it's a win-win for everyone, right?
You got it. That's exactly it. So basically, one of the benefits is having better relationships with, your spouse, your family, peers, even your boss, even strangers around you. Because when you're feeling calm and your mind is going at full capacity, or if your mind isn't going full capacity, then you're not able to make proper decisions. You may kind of fly off the handle with someone, or some people even feel like they have a need to blame others. And when we can be in our right mind and of sound mind, then we realize that maybe we're at fault a little bit. Stop blaming other people.
Right. Well, you know what? Sometimes we are in control of our own little bubble that we live in, and if we focus on nurturing ourselves as much as we try to nurture everyone else, then I think it can only get better.
Yeah, exactly. And then our health is better because our brain's functioning. I keep stressing the brain is very important. We have less sick days at work or just personally, less muscle aches and pain because, as you said, just driving in the car, if your mind is calm, then your body just follows suit, and you have more desire for doing some activity, more range of motion, more energy for the day. You sleep soundly because there's less kind of rolling around in your head while you're trying to sleep. You choose better food options, and just overall make better active decisions for health.
So it's kind of like a lifestyle change then, and one for the better, obviously.
Exactly.
So Lisa, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, even financially, because you're taking less sick days, I just feel a lot better. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes a lot of sense completely. So, given your past and your childhood as a constant worrier, and who grew up consumed by your own thoughts, how did this calming your chaotic mind help you? How did you do it, and how did you find it, and how did it help you?
It's interesting. I only just found it recently. I didn't realize that other people's brains weren't going as fast and as cyclical as mine. And I had a situation where I had made a mistake on something, and my brain went to the point of, I'm going to be in trouble. They're going to call the police on me. They're not going to welcome me back. I'm not going to be allowed to do this. And I told someone that, and I said, does your mind do that too? And they said, nope, that is not what my brain does at all. That is completely irrational thinking. And I thought, you're absolutely right. It is completely irrational. And how did I get from, making this small mistake to the police are coming after me? And so I realized that this isn't okay. And I kind of just let my brain and my mind and thoughts dictate my feelings and my day and the situation, the present moment. And I thought, I can't live like this anymore. This is so overwhelming and exhausting that I'm burning myself out completely. And in order to get a hold of these thoughts and this monkey brain, I need to try and calm it more than anything, and practice those going with the flows and being in your flow meditation or whatever it was that I needed in the moment, and really just honoring myself and being present with that and making the active decision that I'm not going to keep thinking this way. And it has helped immensely.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, may I ask a pointed question? Like, if we're not thinking the same way as someone else, for example, you with your coworker there, is this something that you were born with, or is this an environmental, situation or disorder?
That's a great question. I don't know the exact answer on that. However, I do know it started so young that, it could have been anything. It could have been maybe just a situation where I felt completely out of control, and then my thoughts just spiraled from there, and I used that past experience in almost every other situation that kept, releasing that monkey brain again.
Right.
So I don't know, it could be either or.
Yeah. Be interesting to find out, wouldn't it? Because if it's a hereditary thing, then, maybe that's something that, we could help each other with, or, help the medical profession understand what's going on. If it's an environmental thing, then I guess we need to do a lot of self-work to understand what caused it, what triggered it, what happened to bring it out, and how the pattern can really, if not put in check, I guess, or dealt with, it can really spiral out of control.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got it.
So with finding... Sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
Oh, I just said it'd be nice to find out and see if it really is, a genetic thing or not.
Okay, well, we need to do some research, the two of us, and then we'll have you back on the show again at a later time, and we can discuss that again.
Yeah, I would love that. That'd be great.
Fantastic. So tell me what you do in a typical situation when you find your little monkey brain is taking over. What do you do? How do you react to it?
First of all, I just pause. I completely stop, and I try and understand what it is that's going on in my body, in my brain, in that moment. And I just kind of honor what it is that I'm thinking about. I don't judge myself. I just say, okay, is this a rational thought or irrational? What would I like to be thinking about right now? Would I like to be, having positive thoughts? Would I like to be feeling happy? And how do I get there? How would I get there through a choice? Like, do I choose happiness? Do I choose, feeling positive thoughts? What is it that I really need in this moment? And then I try and get out to nature as much as possible too, because whenever you're in nature, you just feel very connected and grounded. So there's less going on in the head and then more going on at the feet.
Why does that work? Why does nature? I mean, I experience the same thing, but I'd like you to explain why nature is so important to help us ground ourselves, and what's the importance of grounding.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know exactly, so I don't want anyone to quote me, but to me, it just feels like there's a simplicity in nature, and there's quite the abundance of just something that has been created from Earth. And when we surround ourselves with that, it just feels like the energy goes from the brain, from the thoughts, from that cyclical thought pattern down the whole body, through the chakras and down into the feet. And then it's like it takes it from us and disperses it throughout, just throughout the soil, throughout nature, throughout trees, and we just feel that sense of calm.
So it's like a cleansing then.
Yeah.
Good.
It sounds exactly like it.
That's great. I mean, that's so fantastic to do, and to recognize the fact that you're, heading to that out of control place, and to know that at this time I need to stop what I'm doing, because a lot of people will recognize it, if they recognize it, and then they won't act in a positive way. They'll just keep charging through. Well, I can't do that right now. I can't, I don't have the time. And that's fair, but at the same time, there does become a point in time where they do need to take that action and take that step and go in and do their grounding and do their calming techniques, because it will only help them in the long run, and the people around them as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right. So if you were to leave one statement to our listeners today about calming the chaotic mind and finding life or balance in a life of distress and disorganization, what would you say to our listeners?
I would say try and tune into yourself as much as possible. The more awareness you have and the more intuition that you have, the easier it's going to be to know exactly what you want in that moment. And that'll help, even just knowing that you have that choice and that control over your mind, over your body, that that will empower you to be able to take that step, to pause, to make a decision, to make a choice, and act on it.
That's fantastic. Lisa, thank you. Is there anything else you would like to leave our listeners with as far as calming the chaotic mind? Anything we haven't touched on?
I just want to reiterate just how important it is that we get control over our thoughts and our thought patterns, because we are what we think. And if we're thinking negative thought patterns, then that's going to translate into our body, into our surroundings, into the people we're with, our experiences. So the more that we can focus our thoughts, take control, and then create positive thoughts as much as possible, then that just means we're going to have a really beautiful life.
That's fantastic. I love that. Thank you, Lisa. And thank you for coming on and being a special guest today. And I will have you back because we have some research to do, both of us. So
Yes, we do. Thanks, Teresa, so much. I love speaking with you today.
Oh, thanks. Well, thank you. So, Divas, that brings to a close another great, inspiring interview on Powering Through Life. And I'd like to thank my special, incredible guest, Lisa McClellan, for sharing her thoughts and wisdoms with our listeners. So, Divas, if you'd like to get in touch and connect with Lisa, go to www.divasthatcare.com, and you can click on my picture, that's Teresa Sims, and there you'll find a listing for all of my guests. You can click on each one, and all of their contact information will be there. So please reach out to Lisa if you have any further questions for her. And as I say, all of her information will be present on the Divas That Care website. So thank you again for listening to Powering Through Life on divasthatcare.com.